Welcome to Awake and Activate. On this episode of Awake and Activate, we're going to talk about the war for your mind, some mind exercises, and some history so we can get a better understanding of what is going on. I'm inserting the Fair Use Act because we're using this for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody. And all the links of anybody's educational property will be listed in the description box. So if you want to watch the entire program of the snippets that I've taken, that's where you can find the entire article. The first things that we're going to cover is history and man's right to freedom, sovereignty, and to learn how to control our thinking for ourselves, and how everything seems to be inverted and upside down and backwards. So hopefully with some of these exercises we're going to be showing here in a little bit, it will help you to understand how you can take control of your mind back through meditation and some of these simple tools that can help your awareness kick up into high gear.
I said back in 1959, I became very interested in the world of the occult as it applies to, or the hidden world as it applies to politics and religion. And within the past 25 years, I have begun to look at the occult or hidden world of commerce and how banks and government works. The one thing I will say that the past 50 years has given me is, I would say that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does. There's a far higher, bigger picture going on the earth for at least 7,000 years of human history that we modern day people really just don't relate to. All we know is what we live with today, but never suspecting that the institutions of power, banking, education, the military-industrial complex of the world has taken hundreds of years to develop. And over these last hundreds of years, great governments have come into being. Our great country of America, the United States of America, which was the first time on the history of the earth that a people rose up to demand their freedom and impacted the whole world. Because there's never been a time, I don't care when you look back and how far back you go into history, never been a time when the people of any country have ever raised up to declare their freedom. It's never happened. And that's what made America so interesting and so provocative back in the 1800s, is that Americans decided they wanted to be free. So what a clever idea that was. No one had ever tried that before. And of course, when you are a slave, and you are considered to be a slave, when you declare yourself to be free, you're going to make some enemies. And you're going to terrorize your masters who thought they owned you. So now you're going to be a terrorist. And they are now able to kill you because you're a terrorist. Why? Because you have terrorized your masters who thought they owned you. And now they see that the slaves are deciding to revolt and don't want to be owned anymore. and they want to be free, and so there was a war. We call it the Revolutionary War, in which Americans decided they wanted to be free, and they wanted to be free at any cost. And so there was a great war that started in our country against our enslavers, which was Europe. Now, if you keep in mind that for at least 2,300 years, Rome has dominated Europe. First of all, obviously, under the Caesars of Rome. And when the Caesars Rome fell at about the 5th century AD, a new power rose in Rome called the Vatican. Well, the Vatican simply took over the position of Caesar of Rome. And so today, the papacy or the Pope is still basically Caesar in Rome. And this is why all of the nations of Europe all come to bow down to the Pope in Rome, because he is, in point of fact, Caesar. His official title is Pontifex Maximus. And that was a term that was given to Caesar of Rome. So the point I'm making here is that for 3,200 years, Rome has dominated Europe. And for 3,200 years, Europe has dominated the world. Therefore, there is the old saying that all roads lead to Rome. So when you begin to see the wars and the tragedies and the things that are going on in the world today, the corrupt politics, the lies and the deception and the wars and incredible things which we're seeing, that people are becoming more and more concerned and worried about what's going on the world scene, and where are we going as a civilization, especially Europe now and America. Just keep in mind that what you are seeing today, happening on the earth today, with all the wars and economic problems, etc., all has a pedigree, and all has a background which you need to understand. It's called the history of our country, the history of Rome, the history of the Roman Empire. And so this is why I have always wanted to uncover, so to speak, the hidden history of Europe, the hidden history of America, and in point of fact, the hidden history of the world we live in. Because as I said before, so much of our religion, our government, our commercial systems, our educational systems are all based on ancient concepts and belief systems. And unless and until you educate yourself as to how your world operates, you're never really going to experience freedom. Because as a man thinketh, so is he. And so one has to start thinking in terms of how would it be in your life if you were truly free? And what would the world be like if humans were actually free and no longer had slave owners, if the whole human race were free to do what they wish? We're not talking about anarchy. We're talking about legitimate government which protects the rights of all good people and allows individuals to be who they want to be and to do the best they can. And so this is what I have always wanted to do, is to help young people, especially young people, to understand where the world they live in has come from and how it got here. Because you cannot fix anything. You can't help any problem if you don't know how the problem started. If you don't, who was it? Albert Einstein said that you can't depend on the same people who caused the problem to fix it. So I believe that knowledge is power. And this is why so many people in America especially feel powerless, because they have no knowledge. It's written in the Old Testament of the Bible. Profound things have been said in the Bible. For instance, it is written in the Old Testament that my people are dying from a lack of knowledge. And that's certainly true. Today people are dying, they're wasting their lives away because they're ignorant, ill-informed, and unread as to how the world works. And there's another scripture that I think is extremely important that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Let me say that again. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Simply meaning that as long as civilization does not understand where we have come from, where we are now, and where is the whole human race going in the future, if you don't have that kind of spiritual vision, then we're going to perish. Because all of us are nothing more than sitting ducks in the pond. Unless you understand freedom and where it came from and how it was obtained, and unless you start thinking in terms of protecting your rights and your freedoms, the ancient Roman law, and I find ancient Roman law very interesting. Roman law basically said, there was a maxim in Roman law that says, for he who would be deceived, let him. And another maxim in Roman law that says, if you do not defend your rights, you have none. And so this is what I have been trying to get young people to understand, is that you need to educate yourself about how the world really works. Because until such time as you have educated yourself and understand that knowledge is power, and this is very, very important, because as long as you don't understand how you are being used, how you're being lied to and mistreated, deceived, you're never going to be able to get out of the mess we're in. Knowledge is the key. And unfortunately, too many people are preoccupied with watching television and sports and trying to make a dollar just to stay alive. They don't realize what's really going on behind the scenes in our country of America and around the world. There's a very big story here that needs to be told. Who is running this planet, and what are they doing to the human race? Not just to America, but the whole human family on the earth is in serious jeopardy, and it is calling into question the very veracity of human freedom. Unless and until we wake up and begin to take back the sovereignty of our own minds, forget about television, forget about all the nonsensical entertainment that we're bombarded with, and begin to start thinking seriously about your life and where you've come from and where you're going and what's going to happen to your children and your grandchildren when you're gone. You had better start waking up and understanding the world we live in is very, very serious trouble. And we need to wake up and understand how the world really works.
Now, after listening to that short clip from Jordan Maxwell on our history and the way that we think, I want to share with you guys some images that mainly the images I'm going to share are going to be black and white, because I want you to go into your subconscious, not your conscious mind, but your subconscious. But we'll get into that more in a moment. But let me share a few images with you of where we were, where we are, and where we're heading. Now, we all know what this is. The snake eating its own tail, just going round and round. Running the hamster wheel, doing our day-to-day, not looking within ourselves, but judging ourselves from the outside world in, where we should be from the inside, seeing what is reflecting around us. Many of us have awakened to the fact that we're infinite. So therefore now we've got the two snakes, which is also on any medical symbol that you look at, the two snakes intertwining. So we went from running the hamster wheel to now understanding that we're infinite and we don't want to keep coming back here to run the hamster wheel over and over again. So we need to break this cycle. Now we're looking at the Ankh. Now, the Ankh is actually a snake symbol, but it's in the formation of a 9, which is a broken snake. It is no longer going round and round the hamster wheel. It's no longer on the infinity, but now it's gone into the Ankh formation as we are moving along the path of understanding. We're going to move along and come out of this cycle. As you see here, the Ankh would be what a lot of people would call their third eye. Or like in India, they put the red dot, excuse me. And then you've got the eye of Horus, the eye of Ra, okay? Those are your two eyes. But now you're no longer using your two eyes looking outwardly to judge yourself, but you're using your third eye, understanding that everything comes from within you and it reflects out. You're breaking the cycle. So many of us are breaking the cycle that we have a new zodiac sign. Now, new to the Western world, but not new to the Eastern world. And as you can see, man wrestling with that snake, he no longer has it eating its own tail or in the infinity form, but it is broken completely loose. And on one hand, he could be either with the cow, which is in the biblical, the golden calf, and then you've got the cross, and on the other side, you've got the snake trying to curl, but he's not winning. The man is defeating the snake system. Now we're going to get into the war in our mind, or the war for control of our mind, and how backwards everything is. Although the truth is in plain sight, we must learn to discern it, so that way we're operating from our intuition, from what is within us. Again, not allowing these symbols or control measures that are put out that our conscious mind picks up on and gets terrified or traumatized, and allow our intuition. And I'll let this gentleman explain it to you, and then we're going to go through some amazing exercises that hopefully will help you to understand how beautiful and wonderful you are.
On the life of a cell, those images were seen by people over 100 years ago, who created optical microscopes that were able to penetrate the cell membrane and move into that world, that universe that you see. But for some reason, none of you have access to an optical microscope that can see the cell membrane or a cell or the organelles inside a cell or how they function. There is a reason for that, because under international maritime law, all of you are dead. You are dead. You've been dead for a very long time. More serious than you can possibly imagine. And no dead person will ever see life, will ever hear life, will never speak of life. You will never make contract with each other, and you shall make no contract or a covenant with your God. And that's the world that you live in. How that is done is with the use of language, and I'm going to cover that in more detail. As we speak, we're just going through life babbling with each other. That language is known as babble. Since we speak a language of babble, what's interpreting the things that we're saying is our subconscious ability to make those interpretations. And this is how they get you switched off or stand down, and that's what you essentially are. You're walking around where your subconscious is stood down. You don't have access to it. You don't have access to it because the words that you are using locks you out of your subconscious mind. And as I go through what maritime law is, what federal law is, you'll start to see a glimpse of how this is done, the language that you use. And I'll bring all those subjects in together, and I'll do my best to explain it, how they're using that to enforce that you shall not make no contract with your God or covenant. You shall make no contracts with you each yourself. You cannot hear or see life. And yet the Royal Rife microscope is available. You can get one. The Chinese are making it, but yet nobody seems to know anything about it. They're using optical lenses made out of silicon to be able to see intercellular life in real time and photograph it. So I mentioned that because it's there, and yet nobody seems to have access to it. The specimens that you see, for example, your blood specimens or your tissue specimens, all are seen as dead. They are dead. And when they look at the item under the microscope, it's actually dead. They're actually looking at something that is dead, because you cannot see life. You're not allowed to see life. Because if any one of you work out how that cell works, you're going to figure out everything. If one of you work out how the ecosystem of this planet works, you'll figure out everything. If one of you work out how your language works and how it programs your conscious, your subconscious and your unconscious mind, it's all over. Okay? One of the things that they have to do, and I'm going to make some sweeping statements and I'll qualify it as I go along. One of the things that they have to do is that they always tell you the truth. And I say the word always. Whenever they don't, they get caught out. There's a reason why that is. Your subconscious mind works at 120 times faster than your conscious mind does. 120 times faster. I am unable to go into the world of the unconscious because it is unconscious. So I will stick with the subconscious. Since it works 120 times faster than your conscious mind, it knows when you're lying, it knows when you're telling the truth, and it knows what the facts are, and it's already performed those calculations 120 times way before the conscious mind gets to it. And you might feel it as a sense of intuition or a dream, and then you act on it, or your conscious mind acts on it 120 years later when it's all over. And that's known as a migration period. That's how long sometimes it can take if one does not listen to their instincts for that information that the subconscious mind gave you, either in the solar plexus or any other part of the world, to alert you to that something is not quite right. That's how long it might take to migrate to the conscious mind. If your subconscious has been made to stand down and your conscious mind has been put into a state of fear. If you are disconnected from your subconscious mind, your conscious mind is in a state of fear. Abject fear. And that is what they do to you in the courtrooms. When you walk in, even before you've gone into the building, they get you petrified. And since you're petrified, you don't really have access to your subconscious mind. And on occasions that it will force its way through, they get it to stand down. And that's called an interruption. And I'll go through all those things, how they do that. A handshake interruption is what hypnotics would call it a handshake interruption. And it takes less than a half a second, a quarter of a second to put somebody into a trance state. Okay? Before I go into the actual courtrooms, when we start to walk into the courtrooms, I'm going to go over the period that your conscious mind and your subconscious flicks over. And it's around you all the time. The job of the higher ranking judges is to make sure that they're quite literally flicking you in and out all the time. Up to now, you may not understand what I'm talking about until I give you the example. So here, a simple child's drawing of a box. We've seen that many a times. Keep watching it. Everybody, keep watching it, as well as the people on behind the camera. Keep watching it, and something will happen. And it happens to you all the time. Tell me when it happens. Everybody call it out in their own time.
Yes. It happened a long time ago. Change the dimension. Tesseract.
Has it changed yet for you?
It looks normal.
Okay. Keep looking at it. Keep looking at it. Tell me when it changes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Has it changed for you yet?
Yeah.
It's changed.
Every time I blink it changes.
Right before you is a mechanism that nature created to be for you to be able to create your own perspective. Okay? And this changing that you see is your subconscious flicking it around so you can see it from a different angle without actually it moving to a different angle. I held the paper. So nature is creating this all the time for you. And the period that it's doing that with you, that millisecond that it's doing it, is known as a trance state. And when that trance state occurs, you can see it in people's eyes. Your eyes start to flicker, even your skin becomes moist, and then it flicks over. The time it takes for you individuals to make that transition, where you are seeing it from this angle and then you see it from the angle, is the time period that your own subconscious mind works at in order to change that. And that's individual to all of you.
As we just seen demonstrated on how we flip back and forth, conscious mind, subconscious mind, where we should be following our subconscious mind instead of our conscious mind. When, like, I'm a beyond quantum healer, people tell me that they cannot be hypnotized. Well, 80% of our waking life we're spent hypnotized. I want you to focus on this box while I am talking to you. It's a very simple box, but see if you can see it change perspectives. Gives you a different vantage point, clicking you over to subconscious, conscious, subconscious, conscious. And on the playback, you may want to pause it on these separate images that I'm going to be bringing up so you can see how fast you can flicker back and forth and how they keep you in like a trance-like state. We're already hypnotized, so to speak. So when you go to a beyond quantum healer, we're trying to actually get activated your subconscious mind, the divine that is within you, for that to play the dominant role in your life or bringing you to life. And as we're bringing you to life, you become to understand and understand how divine and wonderfully made and perfect that you are. And that how this outside world should hold no bearing on you, as you are a creator within a vessel. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience. They just have traps set up. And like the gentleman just said, they have to tell us the truth, whether it be in symbology or whatever way, to trigger you, to allow your subconscious mind to be at peace with this. So when you go into a courtroom, your subconscious mind looks at it as a game, but they position things in such a way that your conscious mind is terrified because they've just overpowered you. They've taken away your sovereignty, but you can get it back. And that's what I'm here to show you. So watch this star and see how your perspective changes. It's like waking somebody up from a long sleep. We're like walking in a dreamlike status, and we're waking up to who and what we are. The divine resides within. And then you watch everything around you change, morph, and you begin to walk in true life, sovereignty. All the beauty that is within you starts reflecting around you, and you realize with your real eyes that it's always been you that is reflecting around you, not the other way around. Yeah, it's been under control of hypnosis, but you're able to take it back. Just these simple things of understanding. As you're looking at this rectangle, I'm sure it is flipped back and forth, as you're taking with your subconscious mind observations of it from all different perspectives, and allowing your subconscious mind to determine and see all the different things and all the beauty and all the different things that can be created. As we're looking at this prism or diamond, just relax. Allow your subconscious mind. Allow yourself to come out of the hypnosis and into your truth, into your very being of who you truly are and all that you are able to do, and how wonderful and perfect that you are. Stand up. Just like the gentleman said, even if you haven't made a choice, you've made a choice. They've got you. We're going to talk about the Babylon language and maritime law and all of these things that, has become inverted and backwards to us. So I hope that this simple exercise is helping you to see how things can flip and flop, and you can see all different perspectives as you allow the subconscious to do its job. That is your very essence. That's your intuition. That's your gut feelings. It's amazing. As we're coming out of the snake eating its tail and going in circles, I wanted to end this exercise with a circle. I actually have 2 circles I want to share with you. And just, realize if you are seeing patterns, glitches, changes like the Mandela effect, repeating numbers, 1111s, 555s, 1212s, These are all signs that your subconscious is warning you, waking you, and bringing you to the awareness of who and what you are. I've got one more I want to share with you. And remember, if you're doing this on a playback, to pause it at any time and just focus on the black and white image and allow it to flip, flop, and show you all different aspects and perspectives of it. Instead of the second circle, I decided to show you a simple flower of life, black and white. Now this you should see flip, flop, move, every different perspective. You should see all different designs, and don't pressure yourself. Take your time. It's not a race on who can see the most, the fastest. No, it's not about that at all. It is just about coming out of the hypnotic state and taking back control of your subconscious, allowing your subconscious to be your inner compass. That's why we have it. It's not an ego thing. It's not any of the things that we think. Everything is just inverted. It's just backwards. So we're turning everything right side up. And from here, we're going to go and share one more clip from another YouTube channel.
It's fantastic because this has to do with this group of people who have and again, I don't have anything in terms of notes because I stopped, because I thought, well, I'm not going to do that. So you guys fill in the gaps right here, okay, for any of you that know exactly what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about maritime law, I'm talking about common law and that kind of thing. Those guys have always been on the verge of realizing.
We covered quite a bit in this video, and I'm hoping that the mind exercises help you to have the inner, from your heart, from your source energy, from your intuition, your subconscious mind, become more active in your life, play a larger role, and following your intuition and your gut instincts. And don't allow things that are in the outside world with symbology and other things like that to cause doubt within you, because it will. And realize that also we live mainly in a hypnotic state. When we are following our intuition, our subconscious, that is when we are the most awake and most active and the most creative, is when we're in that status, that state. And we're going to get more into maritime law, and we're going to get more into the twisting of words, why it's called babble, because it is important to understand some of these words that we say, what they do, and the effects. Why do you think it's called spelling? These are all things to think about. But as we can see, by us having a 13th zodiac sign showing up and now being acknowledged, that the serpent is not a bad symbol. So don't misunderstand that. It's just a symbol of the loop, and then the infinity, and then us breaking free from that system. So don't think that serpents and dragons and things like that are bad. No. Once you start going with your intuition and what is going on from within you, and it's reflecting out around you, the truth resides all around you. And you wake up into the truth. And at first it can seem pretty jarring, but as you walk in the truth more and more, it becomes your new way of life, and you can see right through things. So, I hope that this was helpful, and I really enjoyed making it for you. And as I've been making this for you, I've had this image, which is the form of a heart, which is actually two serpents. But as you can see, they are freed. At the bottom, they cross over. So that should tell you there that the sign of the serpent is not a bad sign. If you're interested in having a Beyond Quantum Healing session, contact me at this website. And it starts with a phone call. And the phone call, when I call you after you email me, let me know what the best time and the best number to contact you. And we will talk about the different services. And we will go from there. So it starts with the free phone call, so no worries there. But that is how you can connect with me, is by using www.quantumhealers.com/Michelle-Campbell. And with the holidays around the corner, make sure you get your order in. The free shipping takes, between 4 to 5 days to get delivered in the United States. That's the only country I can speak of, because that's how long it took when I ordered. And using the additional 20% off, wow, that's a heck of a deal. So please take advantage of that, because their revenue, a great portion of their revenue, goes to feeding other people. And it's just people helping people. And with all that said, please like, share, and subscribe. Share this message everywhere if it resonated with you. I love you guys so much. You are divine. You are sovereign. You are amazing. And oh my gosh, I just want to share with everybody how beautiful and wonderful everybody is. No matter if we're confused about it or not, we can all wake up and remember to be patient with those who have not quite come to the understandings that we have. Because remember, we were once at that state too, where we were very in the world and very hypnotized and just doing, the work, pay bills, and, the daily humdrum, day in, day out. Every day was like the same day, like Groundhog Day, for example. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.